the church. This is why I believe that Christianity maintains the power of salvation and of God. Calvinism maintains the power of damnation and the devil. I believe that Christ taught us that we can overcome our evil with good, and that our true natures are good, not evil. Calvinism teaches that only the elect will be saved, and that the rest of us will just burn in hell. We should be teaching our children that God loves us, and that if we are good and loving people, we too can rejoice in heaven one day. I don't understand. Why does he think I'm insane? Have I not been a good wife to him for 21 years? And here I thought he loved and respected me, but no. I simply state my own beliefs, and it is like he hardly knows me. But I will not give in. I will keep representing my own beliefs. And for this, he screamed at me, "Elizabeth, you shall go to the asylum." How can I leave my children with this man that my husband has become? But then again, why am I so afraid? Surely he cannot have me committed without evidence that I am insane, right? He's done it. He's committed me. The Illinois State Hospital for the Insane. I was abducted from my home this morning when my husband and the sheriff dragged me out of my house, holding me, carrying me like I was a child. But yes, my husband did have every right to do this to me. According to a state law exception, stating that married women could be entered or detained in the hospital at the request of the husband without any evidence of insanity. Surely you must see that I am not insane. I cannot stay here. I will not stay here. I have 6 children, 5 boys and a girl, who all saw me be taken from my home this morning. To see their own mother be taken away, like an animal. My children need me. Who will take care of them? Surely you must see that I am not what my husband says. I am begging you to listen. They say that all I need to do is sign a paper, and that I will be free. But does that mean that I would be cured? No. I cannot do that. I will not do that. I cannot pretend to believe everything that my husband says. I cannot lie to my children. I am not insane, and I will not sign a paper binding me to submit to my husband's every belief. And further, I have seen what goes on here at Jacksonville. I have witnessed the way that the patients are treated. I've heard the screams through the walls, the beatings, and the slave labor. I have met women who have been locked here unjustly for years. This hospital is not curing them. The matrons are the ones who are truly mad, inflicting pain on these poor, weak, defenseless women. Well, I promise you this. I am not insane, I will not sign any paper, and I intend to reveal and uncover exactly what goes on here at the Jacksonville Insane Asylum. I've been locked here for almost 2.5 years now. When I told the doctors that I would not sign a paper binding me to submit to my husband's every belief, they decided which ward I would be placed in. The 8th ward, for the violently and the hopelessly insane. Here I have almost been killed many nights by violently disturbed patients. For months now, I have been forbidden to write. But my friends, they supply me with paper and pen, and I write everything down, all of their stories. They tell me the truth about what goes on here, about the isolation rooms and the torture sessions, the filth and the stench. We live like barn animals. And little do they know, I'm writing everything down. My son is coming of age soon. He will be able to remove me from this prison. I know that I talk a lot about wanting to leave, to expose this hell, but what if leaving only means me getting locked in another institution and having to start from scratch? Well, I was right. My dear son came of age and was able to remove me from my exile at the institution. However, upon my arrival home, my husband, who still believes me insane, decided to lock me in my children's old nursery. It's freezing locked in here. It's the winter of 1864, and I have been deprived of warm clothes, a blanket, or a fire to keep warm. The windows are nailed shut, and I haven't seen anyone, except for my husband, who only sees me to give me food and to comment on his progress at admitting me to another institution. I've been locked in here for almost 1.5 months now, but I have finally found a way to hopefully gain my freedom. get me help. I know that if I'm locked in another institution, I will never be free again. My neighbor, Sarah Hanslet, received the letter and went straight to a judge, where a writ of habeas corpus was declared and a trial was immediately set for me to defend my sanity. So I had this trial as my only chance at freedom. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I am a sane woman. I have not done anything to suggest that I am insane. I simply stated my own beliefs in an open discussion class, and because they differed from my husband's, I was accused of being insane and locked unjustly in a mental institution for 3 years. I won the trial. The verdict was reached in 7 minutes today on January 18th, 1864. So many women supporters saw me prevail in court that I believe I have already made a great impact on this country. I am finally free. Or so I thought. I arrived home to everything being gone. My husband must have packed up and moved before I came home from the trial. He's taken everything, my clothes, my money, my diary from the hospital, and he's taken my children. I realize now that I must change the laws that allow my husband to do these things. I must change them in Illinois and the entire country, and I will not rest until what has happened to me will never happen to anyone, ever again. I spent the rest of my life lobbying for marital women and the insane. I was able to achieve so many of my goals by writing and selling books and pamphlets, describing my horrifying experiences. This way, I could support myself while still campaigning my ideas. Although I was never a businesswoman, I was able to campaign my ideas in what proved to be a masterful way. It was powered by educating people on the unknown law exceptions that took away the rights of women and the insane. I began my fight to change the Illinois commitment laws, and despite the strong opposition from the psychiatric community, Packard's personal liberty laws were passed on March 5th, 1867. My laws reaffirmed the 1865 laws requiring jury trial for commitment and stipulated that patients committed before the 1865 laws would be given a fair trial. Finally, I could begin my battle to change child custody rights for women, but I had to make it clear that I was not trying to take away men's rights. I was only fighting for equal rights. In the end, women were granted child custody rights, rights to property, and rights to income. So I was soon able to request a trial for my children. After a short trial, I was awarded the custody of my children. And I realized as I set off to change the laws to get my children back, I changed so much more. But I was not done. After I finished raising my children in my house, I headed straight to Washington, D.C., where I got a total of 34 bills passed, each aiding mental patients and women in some way. I have been called a leader. And if that is true, then I hope that my legacy lets us remember that if we are to speak at all, it is the truth alone that we are bound to utter, regardless of the censure or applause of mortals. Elizabeth Ware Parsons Packard. This is a picture of her mental institution that she was held captive in. It's located in Jacksonville. suggested that I take a tour of the Clark House in Chicago. So I took a tour of the house, and I was really inspired by Miss Clark, how she had to take on as like the leader of her family after her husband passed away. So I was really interested in women leaders that were forgotten, like Miss Clark. And after researching online about specific women, I wanted to narrow it down to women in the health area. So her name popped up, and after I read her story, I really wanted to, tell it.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
Oh, I find it interesting, one of your secondary sources is about women in Islam. How did you make a connection there?
When I was doing my research, I was trying to get a background on women's rights around the world so that I can compare that to how she helped. So the book about women in Islam really helps me, compare that she changed so much a long time ago that if she would have been there, if women like her were in Islam, she could have helped, but they still need women like that today.
Because one of the things I noticed was you talked about, you referred to 18th century Illinois and 18th century women.
When I was researching, I was researching women before her time to see how much she changed in her time. So that's why I was researching 18th century women so that I could see how in the 19th century she was able to change.
So when was she born?
She was born in 1850.
Mid-century. And so when you were looking at 18th century women in Illinois, who did you find? Who did you find, or what did you find out?
I just found out that they were very forgotten. The men, pioneer men were given a lot of the credit for what they did around the house, for planting, for hunting, and it turned out that women were often the ones planting in the field, and women were the ones, in the kitchen and taking care of the families when they were sick, and men often went on the